قل هذه سبيلي أدعو إلى الله على بصيرة أنا ومن اتبعني وسبحان الله وما أنا من المشركين.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين، وصلى الله وسلم وبارك على المبعوث رحمة للعالمين نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. أما بعد. Dear brothers and sisters in Islam, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, and welcome to this live episode of Ask Zad, coming to you every Sunday after Asr prayer here in Mecca region, which is approximately 4:10. Our first caller for today is Maham from Pakistan.
Assalamu alaikum.
Alaikum salam.
I want to ask that if a person who owns haram books, can he just throw them in the dustbin, like without, as they are, without like ripping the pages?
Haram books, if you know that it will be destroyed and no one would fall into sin by reading them, then yes, you can throw them away and dispose of them. But if you fear that someone may take them from the garbage can and look at them or read them or see the pictures that are haram in them, in this case you have to shred them or tear them to pieces, at least tear the pages so that no one would be interested in going through it. Afzan from Pakistan. Afzan? Maisha from Bangladesh.
Assalamu alaikum, Sheikh.
Assalamualaikum.
So I get a lot of waswas while using social media, such as I share Islamic posts which might be beneficial for people. Again, I refrain from many posts which might seem as an extremism for people because of the secular or Islamophobic mindset. And again, sometimes I might set privacy on other posts, which might not be haram, but at the same time not beneficial. It's just random memes or any random posts. So my question is it hypocrisy or kufr if I filter like this while choosing contents according to the audience?
On the contrary, this is not hypocrisy. This is what wisdom in dawah is all about. If you know that a particular post would cause resentment and maybe confusion in the hearts of ignorant imbeciles or someone who has pre-notions of or against Islam, and this is only logical to prevent them from seeing anything that would increase that. But if you know that people are susceptible and accepting to whatever you post which drives them closer to Allah, and you do that, that's a win-win. So no, there is no hypocrisy in that. See, at the end of the day, we Muslims judge things by the conclusion. If I say this, what is the conclusion? Sometimes I may talk to a woman and tell her when she's complaining about her husband, why are you staying with him? Why don't you divorce him? You don't have children, you don't have this. Because she is the one who's causing the trouble in the marriage. And I give her what is known as a shock therapy, depending on her situation, about her emotional state, about her intellectual state. So I give her something that would wake her up and tell her, your husband could marry someone younger than you, much more beautiful, much more religious, who would make him happy. Then she wakes up and finds out that, whoops, what am I doing? No, I'm keeping my husband. I'm going to be a good woman. So you judge things by the conclusion. If someone is already interested in leaving her husband and you encourage her and she gets a divorce, that's not the right thing to do. But when someone is reluctant and you do this in order to get her back on track and you know what you're doing, inshallah, this is wise of you. Farhan from India.
Assalamu alaikum, Sheikh.
Salamtullah.
Sheikh, some people they fear dead bodies or graveyards because they might have seen people. Other people say that they have seen some paranormal activity because of the jinn and all. Is a fear of dead bodies or graveyards permissible? Is it shirk or not?
This is not shirk because people don't fear it because of itself. It's something that is psychological. It is something that can even be a natural fear. Not everyone is so acquainted with a dead body that, oh, they would just go and hug a dead person or feel safe to sleep next to a dead person in the room. It is not normal. Not everybody is well equipped or well adjusted to such situations. The shirk would be if you fear that this dead body would come back to life, which is un-Islamic and there's no way of doing this, or that it has the power to hurt you or to benefit you. This is shirk, but nobody has this. This is the normal shirk, the same as you fear a cockroach or a mouse. This is not shirk because it's a natural fear. It's something that some people are built and created with, of fearing of such reptiles or such insects, and Allah knows best. Rahma from the UK.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Wa alaikum assalam wa barakatuh.
So during Ramadan, in my local masjid, they pray witr like Maghrib. But there is another masjid 30 minutes away that doesn't. Should I go to the one further away? Jazakallah khair.
It is best for you to go to the masjid that follows the sunnah, and it's higher for your reward, providing there is no hardship. If driving half an hour to pray taraweeh, which is not obligatory to begin with upon women to pray in the masjid, and it's best for them to pray in their homes, we would say no, don't go to such extent of hardship. And the imam that prays witr as Maghrib, this is according to the Hanafi school of thought, which is wrong. The other schools of thought disagree and follow the sunnah and follow the hadith where the Prophet prohibited ﷺ following or praying witr as in the Maghrib, and he told us not to do so. But either way, they're following a reputable school of thought, and this is the best of their knowledge. So even if you pray behind them, inshallah, the prayer is valid and Allah knows best. Nazar from India.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Sheikh, I came to know from your past references about leaving the prayer in Jama by keeping hand to our nose and pretending to be get bleeded after breaking ablution. But I am frightened to evade from the road due to being confronted by some ignorance about this, and thereby I could be prevented from doing such things. Is there any other alternative solutions against such scenario? Jazakumullahu khairan.
Wa jazakum. This is the sunnah. Whenever you break your wudu, you just put your hand over your nose as if there is bleeding and leave the rows and go to perform wudu. If you're afraid of something even worse, then just sit. Everybody would know that you're not praying and that you've broken your wudu, but that would be disgraceful for you. But if you fear that this is better than leaving the rows, so be it. Khalid from Tunisia.
Assalamu alaikum, Sheikh.
Assalamu
Sheikh, inshallah, here in Ramadan, after Isha prayer, they don't leave us enough time to make dhikr after Salat al-Isha, and they don't leave us enough time to make the Sunnah Ratiba. Also, they don't do Salat al-Ibrahimiyya at the end of every 2 rak'ahs. Jazakumullahu khair.
Akhi, you have to go and look for another masjid and pray with them who follow the sunnah. If they don't leave time for the adhkar and for the sunnah of Isha to be prayed, we can let that slip, no problem. But not to offer Salatul Ibrahimiyya, this is like the Ferrari Imam. True, the Salatul Ibrahimiyya, Allahumma salli ala Muhammadin wa ala ali Muhammad, at the end of the Salat is a difference of opinion of scholars. Some say it is mandatory, some say it is sunnah, no problem in skipping it. And this is the opinion of Shaykh ibn Uthaymeen. And some say it's a pillar. And the most authentic opinion to me, which I think is the most strongest of all, is that it is mandatory. So even if you pray behind them and you can finish it on your own, this is fine. The Imam's salah is valid. But why would I waste my time praying so fast, so quick, focusing on the quantity rather than on the quality? Look for a masjid that follows the sunnah and pray there. And if there isn't any, I would highly recommend that you pray home, prolong your prayer, take your time, and gather whomever you can with you. Arman from India.
Assalamu alaikum, Sheikh.
Assalamu
Sheikh, we know that mocking Islam in joking, even unintentionally and unknowingly, makes a person kafir. So a person gets many doubts, even he says anything related to Islam while smiling or laughing. He gets a doubt that maybe he has mocked Islam and he don't know how to apply certainty doubt principle in this. Jazakallah.
If this is a chronic illness and a mental disease that a person has, he has to ignore it and move on. Certainty is Islam. And this certainty is not affected by doubt, whether I committed shirk or not, whether I mocked Islam or not, because unless you have proof that is a concrete evidence that you've mocked Islam or joked about Islam, I could not invalidate your Islam. So unless you have this proof, then you have to move on and ignore such doubts. Because if you open the door a little bit for shaitan, he'll put his toe. And if you open it a little bit more, he'll put his foot. And if you open it a little bit more, he's going to put his whole leg. And a little bit more, he's going to enter. Who's to be blamed? It's you. You're the one who's opening the door for him. So either you close the door and draw the line, or you face the consequences of your own actions. Fahim from Bangladesh.
Assalamu alaikum, Sheikh.
Alaikum assalam wa rahmatullah.
Sheikh, I have seen some Muslims greet another Muslim just by saying, Salam, how are you? So, Sheikh, my short question has two parts today. My first concern is, instead of Assalamu alaikum, is it sinful to give salam just by saying salam? And what if someone greets me just by the word salam? How should I respond, Sheikh? Jazakallah.
If you go to Islam Q&A, you will find the detailed answer to your question. But in short, salam is sufficient. Though it's not the sunnah, because the minimal requirement for sunnah greeting is assalamu alaikum. And if you increase that to be assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah, that would be 20 hasanat, good deeds. And if you say assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, that would be 30. But if you say salam or assalam, that is against the sunnah, but it is a valid thing. You may also be better than him and say wa alaikum assalam, because that is better and Allah knows best. Ibrahima from Guinea.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, Sheikh.
Alaykum assalam wa barakatuh.
Allah bless you and reward you.
Ameen.
So my question today, Sheikh, is about the fasting on the day of doubt. Because like, for example, last year and this year, I'm fasting on almost all Shaban except like the first days or so. So basically last year, there was the day of doubt for us because the crescent was not seen and all of that. So I didn't fast that day of doubt. But this year, this might happen again because our authorities are quite not really competent, let's say it like that. But since I'm already fasting almost all of Shaban, if there's a day of doubt, can I still fast it as Shaban then and continue my stuff, or
no,
is it better not to do it?
No, you must not do it. It's best to leave a day or two before Ramadan to avoid disobeying the Prophet ﷺ and fasting the day of doubt. Noor from Malaysia. Noor. Ariba from Pakistan.
Assalamu alaikum, Sheikh.
Assalamu wa rahmatullah.
So I pray standing except for sujood and tashahud. I sit. Since I started praying like this recently, when I sat for sujood, instead of bending and saying the sujood adhkar, I just sat straight and said ruku adhkar mistakenly and then corrected myself, bended and did sujood. I did not know if I had to do sajda sahu for this mistake, but I prayed as usual and just ignored it. Was this correct?
As long as a person rectified his mistake in the same position, then there is no need for sujood as-sahu. For example, if I'm in sujood, and instead of saying Subhana Rabbi al-A'la, I said Subhana Rabbi al-Azim, Subhana Rabbi al-Azim, Subhana Rabbi al-Azim, Sami Allahu liman hamidah, Rabbana wa lakal hamd. Then I said, whoa, what am I doing? I said Subhana Rabbi al-A'la, Subhana Rabbi al-A'la, Allahu Akbar. And I said, your prayer is valid without any problem. Abdullah from India. Abdullah. Aska from Indonesia. Aska.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Bismillah. Sir, I'd like to ask a question on software and privacy. Some time ago, I brought my laptop to an official service center for a fixing. My laptop was broken. So in the end, they took out a component that stored a legal version of a software that I own. The service center replaced it with a new component that doesn't have said software. In short, I lost the halal version of said software without me knowing. In this case, is it permissible for me to use a pirated version of the software I lost?
No problem, inshallah, because you originally had the halal original version, so there's no problem in that, inshallah. Saad from Pakistan. Yeah, Saad.
Assalamu alaikum.
Alaikum salam.
Sheikh, so how can someone who has OCD in a lot of things get over it, especially if he is confused with things like if this is kufr or not, or if things invalidate the prayer or not? So how can he do this?
Number one, the easiest way is to ignore. Very, very simple. Ignore. Now, if he says, oh, Shaykh, I can't ignore, in this case, you have to go and read books of Aqidah to cement and strengthen your Iman, and you know what is kufr and what is not. If you say, oh, now I'm more confused, then I tell you, come and have a counseling session with me if you can afford it, and I'll talk you out of it, insha'Allah, Azza wa Jal, with the grace of Allah. T from the UK.
Assalamu alaikum.
Assalamu.
Yes, so I recently qualified as a job role similar to physiotherapy, and I wanted to know, in order to get customers, because there's this multicultural city I live in, if I went to, say, Hindu temples or churches and said to the people in charge, can you put my poster up for that advertises my business? Or if I went on for example, this is Ask Zad. So if I went to the Hindu or Christian version of their TV channels and asked to put my advert on their TV channels in between the shows, is these things permissible or should I stay away?
If there is any form of endorsement of their religion or accepting it, that is not permissible, of course. But if it is nothing to do with endorsing their religion or approving it or stating that this is acceptable in any means other than Islam, then it seems okay, but it is inappropriate totally for a Muslim to go and put such things on temples or churches or synagogues We do not need them to advertise for us. You believe that the rizq is in Allah's hands, so keep this belief alive and move on, and Allah knows best. Abdul Qadir from the UK.
السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.
عليكم السلام ورحمة الله وبركاته.
Sheikh, every day I read Surah Al-Fatiha, Surah Al-Baqarah, Surah Yasin, Surah Al-Waqi'ah, and the three qurs. Is it, can it be considered as a bid'ah, or is it good to read every day?
Abdul Qadir, do you have any evidence to back it up that the Prophet did this, alayhi salatu salam? Yes or no?
No.
And then in this case, it's a bid'ah. You don't have to be a rocket scientist. Something that is from the Quran, which the Prophet did not do every single day, whether after Maghrib or after Fajr, like you've seen some people from the subcontinent doing. And the Prophet didn't do it. And some Maulana comes and say, yeah, but this is good. Yahi, how can it be good if the Prophet didn't do it, alayhi salam, nor his companions, may Allah be pleased with them, nor the tabi'een or tabi'in? Do I know more than them? If the religion is complete and the blessing of Allah was perfected, and Allah accepted Islam to be our religion, how could we, after that verse was revealed, come and say, oh yes, but I think this is missing. I have to insert Surah Yasin, Surah this, Surah that. This is not applicable, and Allah Azza wa Jal knows best. We have a short break. Stay tuned, and inshallah, we'll be right back.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Today I'm going to talk about the book Interactions of the Greatest Leader. Abu Hurairah, may Allah be pleased with him, said, the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, no one's wealth helped me as much as the wealth of Abu Bakr helped me. After which Abu Bakr began to weep and say, and is my life and wealth for anything besides you, O Messenger of Allah? This narration shows the level of etiquette and humbleness that Abu Bakr, may Allah be pleased with him, had in the presence of the Prophet of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. For he likened himself to a slave of the Prophet of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam by saying that his wealth was only for the Prophet of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, as well as his soul and self. This comes as no surprise, for the Prophet of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam has more right on the believers than themselves. He, may Allah be pleased with him, spent his wealth in the cause of Allah, and he consoled the Prophet of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam through his own self. So the Prophet of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam recognized that for him and said, in order to build his stature and to remind the ummah of his virtues, no one's wealth helped me as much as the wealth of Abu Bakr helped me. Among the benefits of this narration, it is important to keep good manners and humbleness in the presence of the Prophet of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Thanking someone who has bestowed some favor on you, as well as supplicating for them, is part of having good manners. Reported by Al-Bukhari, reported by Al-Tirmidhi, and Ibn Majah. Albani ruled it authentic in his book Sahih Al-Jami', the explanation of As-Sindi on the book of Ibn Majah, and At-Taysir Bisharh Al-Jami' As-Saghir.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah, and welcome back. We have Neela on the line from Bangladesh.
Assalamu alaikum, Sheikh.
Alaikum assalam wa rahmatullah.
Sheikh, shaitan is iblis, but here we use the word shaitan for someone who is very naughty, especially to a kid, like he's very shaitan or he does very shaitani. Not only this, some compare small kids to angels. like they're angels, that's why Allah protected her. Nothing would happen to her, she's an angel. So I wanted to know if it is permissible or not, because angels, humans, and devils are three different things. Jazakallah khair.
For people to be called as shaitan, this is derogatory and sinful unless that person is a shaitan. So if we look at the president of the occupied Palestine, yani the Jew Israeli Netanyahu, we would say he's a shaitan. There's no problem in that. But to call shaitan to children, this is not permissible. Iblis is Satan, and any animal or creature that goes beyond its limit, we call that shaitan. And this is why the Prophet ﷺ instructed us to kill any black dog with the two yellow dots above his eyes. And he said that this is a shaitan, meaning that he's the most evil upon or among his species or the likes. To call a child an angel, this is not recommended, because angels are creatures of Allah Azza wa Jal, and they're honored and they're close to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Nevertheless, we know that in Surah Yusuf, when he came out to the women who were sitting, and they were so shocked with his beauty, they cut their own hands with the knives they had for the fruit, not noticing that they cut their hands. And they said, this is not a human being, he's an honorable angel because of his beauty. So it's not recommended. It's okay to say at something that is beautiful that this is something related to the angels, but to call female children as angels, this is not permissible. Or to give the name of malak to a female or malak, this is haram, because this is what the idol worshippers did when they claimed that the angels of Allah are females. So it is not permissible to call a female child Jibreel or Israfil or Mikael. However, we can call a baby boy Jibreel or Israfil or Mikael, and Allah knows best. Rakib from Bangladesh.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Alaikum assalam wa barakatuh.
So, Sheikh, I had like 5 expiations to expiate, and I started fasting as I'm a student, and I broke. I already fasted like 10 days, but recently I made around like $15 through affiliate marketing. It's like once in a blue moon, and I also recalled that I had some money left from the money that I got on Eid, which is like $7. So both combined would feed around 20 people. So what should I do in this case? Should I continue fasting, or what should I do?
No, use the money you have. If it is made and you have it, but you don't need it, it's above your essential needs of food and lodging and the likes, it's something extra, use that to expiate. But if you don't have anything other than that, and this is the only money you have and it will leave you stone broke, in this case you may fast. Ahmed from Morocco.
Assalamu alaikum, Sheikh.
Assalamu.
Sheikh, if according to the Islamic calendar, my age is 25, and according to the Gregorian calendar, my age is 24, what should I consider my age to be? Moreover, if people ask me about my age, which one should I say?
You can pick and choose. No problem in choosing either one. It's not gonna make a difference. But basically, as Muslims, we rely and depend and use only the Hijri calendar. This is how Muslims work, or at least this is how the Muslims are supposed to be dealing. Unfortunately, nowadays, people are focused and oriented upon money. So all what they care about is to have a fixed date for their transactions and for their financing and for this and for that. And they've abandoned the Hijri year. in Muslim world, in the Muslim countries, you go to them and say, what date is it? Or what month is it? It's February. Yeah, what is it? In Hijri years? Don't know. The month before Ramadan, probably. Okay, when is the first month of the lunar year, of the Hijri year? I don't know. They can't even call or name the 12 months of the Hijri calendar. And this is a disgrace. But it shows how the enemies of Islam have succeeded in infiltrating the Muslims to the extent that they don't have a past. And those who don't have a past will never ever have a future, or let alone to have a present. We have to abide by the Hijri calendar. But yes, if I'm speaking to someone who doesn't know the Hijri calendar and he asks me how old I am, I would say with the Gregorian date. Jaisha from Pakistan. Najwa from UK.
Assalamu alaikum. Sorry, my mic was not working.
Alaikum salam to Allah. You are?
I'm Jaisha.
Okay.
Jaisha.
Yes, how can I help you?
My friend asked a question. If a person wants to revert to Islam but they don't want to do something obligatory about it, can they still become a Muslim? And before becoming a Muslim, can a revert? Is it obligatory for a revert to ask forgiveness for major and minor sin? What if they miss these things after becoming a Muslim?
What do you mean by don't want to make an obligatory act?
Like, for example, if a person wants to revert to Islam and they do not want to do the hijab, for example, they have this intention.
First of all, a person who's not a Muslim is bound to hellfire, regardless of how good you are. If you know about Islam, if you know about the Quran, if you know about Allah or Prophet Muhammad ﷺ, you've got the means to go and research it. Yet you insist, no, I want to remain as I am, following my same religion. I'm a good person. Allah will put me in paradise. I guarantee you, you will go to hell for eternity. All what you need to do is just die. If a person says, whoa, okay, I'm willing to accept Islam. The moment he accepts Islam and submits his will to Allah Azza wa Jal, he's a Muslim and he has reserved his seat in paradise. Depending on how much sins he would come on the Day of Judgment on his shoulders and on his back. So if he reverted or she reverted to Islam, but said, I believe in hijab, I can't wear it. It doesn't fit me. I believe it's mandatory, but I am too weak. I'm afraid of what the people would say about me. And she does not wear it. She's a Muslim. And Allah Azza wa Jal would hold her accountable as a Muslim. And if she has many, many good deeds that would overweigh her sins, Allah would compensate that and put her in paradise. But if she not, then she will put in hellfire and she will be burned and tormented for Allah knows how long. Inevitably, eventually, she will be taken and then put in paradise for eternity. But believe me, 1 second of fire is not to be taken lightly, let alone a couple of years. Sadman from Bangladesh.
Assalamu alaikum.
Kamsalamullah.
Sheikh, what to do when I am concerned regarding something, whether it's sinful or not, but I could not find any videos of the Sheikh I trust for fatwa, or I couldn't get any fatwa from the other 1 or 2 Sheikh I trust, especially for the situation I'm in. But I need a ruling on that, so what should I do in that case?
Allah Azza wa Jal says, فَاتَّقُوا اللَّهَ مَا اسْتَطَعْتُمْ. Fear Allah to the best of your ability. Call the Sheikh that you trust. If not, then call the other Sheikh and call the third Sheikh until you reach a conclusion. Sufyan from France. Sufyan. Abdullah from Bangladesh.
Assalamu alaikum, Sheikh.
Assalamualaikum.
So, Sheikh, I'm a medical student and I wanted to know if I'm allowed to examine and
treat the female patient during my training period, only with the intention to learn and increase my experience as a doctor. And I may need to look and touch the female patients.
It is permissible for a medical doctor to examine the opposite gender when there is a need for that. And the need, unfortunately, in medical colleges is that they have to do their rounds as medical students and they have to encounter different types of patients. Now, it is essential that you're not alone or in seclusion with a female patient, because this is totally haram. Number two, it is permissible for you to look and to touch what is needed to be looked at and touched. So if she has a problem with her toe in her foot, you don't have to touch and look at her face and tell her to unveil her face. This is not logical. So only the area that you have to look and diagnose and examine is that which is permissible for you to look at and touch. Malik from the US. Malik. Safiya from the UK. Safiya. Marwan from Egypt.
Yes, Assalamu alaikum, Sheikh.
Rahmatullah.
I recently, I used to do a lot of sins وكده. I'm actually 15, and I used to not pray, but now I started. So, like, how do I know that Allah has forgiven me and stuff like that?
You can't. You can't know whether Allah Azza wa Jal has forgiven your past sins or not. But you have to be hopeful. You must think positively of Allah Azza wa Jal, and you must do your level best to do good deeds and get closer to Allah while having this remorse and the feeling of guilt over the past sins. And inshallah, this is a good sign that Allah will forgive your sins. Yunus from the UK. Yunus.
Assalamu alaikum, Sheikh.
Assalamu
I would like to know how I can utilize my youth.
By not getting old, doing sins and skipping mandatory things. Very simple. Akhi, when you give generic questions like this that would require a 2 or 3 hours lecture, what do you expect to get an answer? Definitely an answer equivalent to your generic question. How do you utilize our youth? By not getting old, skipping mandatory things, which you will be punished and tormented for, or doing haram, which you will be punished and tormented for. If you manage to do this, you are doing the best thing that can be done. Umar from Germany.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, Sheikh.
Wa alaikum assalam wa barakatuh.
Sheikh, today in Germany is the day of voting, and it seems that the party that is against Islam and also wants to close mosques will get a large majority of votes. There are other parties which are in the majority and are not so against Islam, but they are not Muslims. Is it permissible to vote for them because they are the lesser of two evils, even though they are not Muslims? And is it appropriate for a mosque that they extra hold a khutbah or a speech and tell you which party to vote for? And in this context, they say it's the best for us to vote the Christianity Democratic Union?
Jawohl. If there are two parties only, and this is the weirdest and most stupid form of democracy. So I have to choose whether to lose my left eye or right eye. I'm going to lose one of my eyes. So where's the democracy in this? If you have two parties and one of them is way, way more evil and hostile against Islam and the Muslims, it is mandatory for you to choose the lesser of the two evils. If you don't vote, then the evil party would win. If you give it a shot and try to vote to the lesser of the two evils, though you resent the process of democracy, though you resent the concept of voting, because this is un-Islamic when the drunkards and the homosexuals and the filth of the society have a say. This is illogical. So this is what's happening when you live in a kafir country. But if this is the only option, yes, you can go and vote for the lesser of the two evils. Ahmed from Italy.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Alaikum assalam wa barakatuh.
My question is regarding about making dua after every fard prayer in congregation at the masjid. And if this is bid'ah, what should I do behind the imam?
Ahmed,
okay?
Ahmed, have you ever encountered a single hadith where the Prophet ﷺ, after congregational prayer, he would go and make dua and the companions say, Ameen, Ameen? Yes or no?
Sheikh. No, Sheikh.
Then, akhi, it's a clear, crystal clear bid'ah. But the people in the subcontinent, unfortunately, the deviant sects here and there, they hold on, they cling to it, so that they make sure that their followers would not go and follow the Quran and the Sunnah. They want to milk them. They want to have authority over them. This is why they prohibit and forbid people to do so. What to do as a Muslim when I go to such a masjid? As long as the imam is not known to do shirk, he does not believe that the Prophet ﷺ sees the universe and he controls it as if it's in the palm of his hand and he's hazir nazir. As long as he's Muslim, he doesn't have any shirk, doesn't believe in soothsayers, doesn't write amulets and sell it to people, doesn't believe that we can call the dead or should call Maulana Jilani, Tijani, Al-Badawi and the likes, or Al-Hussein. He doesn't do any shirk. You can pray behind him. The moment they start to do this congregational bid'ah, whether it's in Al-Maghrib, whether it is in Syria, whether it's in Jordan, whether it's in Egypt, whether it's in Pakistan, whether it's in India, you just stand up and leave. Your prayer is valid, alhamdulillah, and Allah Azza wa Jal knows best. Wa sallallahu wa sallam wa barak ala abdihi wa rasulihi nabiyina Muhammad.
قل هذه سبيلي أدعو إلى الله على بصيرة أنا ومن اتبعني وسبحان الله وما أنا من المشركين